Hey, what's up YouTube? My name is Brett Westwood and I'm here to show you how to create a hero section using Tailwind CSS inside of Next.js. So let me just show my screen. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how the hero section is going to look. So this is the hero section we are going to make. Above it is the navigation bar that I made in the previous video that I recorded on my channel. So if you're interested in how to create a responsive navigation bar for mobile and desktop design, click the link above, and I'm going to have it right here at the top right corner of my video screen. Other than that, we're going to get right into the video and we're going to create this navigation bar. So the very first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change up this teaching method in a sense. Is I'm going to keep this code on the screen. So I'm not going to actually type the code. The reason being is because if I typed all this code, this video could be a 40-minute code of me typing and explaining. So why not just explain the code I did and you guys could follow along. And if you have any questions, just leave them down in the comments. Also, before this video starts, if you could give this video a like and also subscribe, because I'm going to be coming out with a lot of content here within the next year of 2023. So right now I have the terminal hidden and the side files hidden, but I'm going to show you how I kind of set up the project. So like I said, I'm using React and I'm using the Next.js framework. And inside of the index.js file, which is kind of the main file, we have the navbar component, which is in the components folder up here. And then right below the navbar, we have the hero section. So if we go inside of the hero section, we are going to see the code that makes this responsive hero section. So as you can see, this is how it looks on the Nest Hub Max. They already have different presets inside of this dev tool. The iPhone 12 Pro, the iPad mini, and you also go to responsive mode to see how it looks on most screens. So we're going to minimize that, and we're going to now look at the code. So this top part here is the logic. We will go over that at the end. This is for the form. And this component here is called the hero section, and we're exporting it as a default down below as the hero section, and it is an arrow function. Everything below the return is JSX, and the other prerequisite you need for this type of hero section that I'm doing is you need to make sure you install Tailwind CSS onto your project. So if you want to do that, I recommend just looking up the docs of Tailwind CSS. They're very simple, very easy to follow. And if you do need any help, just comment below and I will be happy to help you as well. But to make sure that Tailwind CSS is actually in our project, all you have to do is go to the package JSON, and we have the Tailwind CSS as a dev dependency. And then we have a Tailwind config.js file here as well. And one of the extensions I highly recommend you use is Tailwind CSS IntelliSense. This is pretty much a tooltip inside of the code editor that allows you pretty much to see what you're typing and what it actually does. Because all the CSS we're going to be doing is inside of this JSX file right here. Okay. So the first thing we're going to go over is we are going to go over the main wrapper, which is not going to be a div. We have it as a section. You could do it as a div as well. But we have this section, which is wrapping the whole hero section here. And the very first CSS value that we're using is a padding top of 48. The reason why I'm doing this is because our navigation bar is fixed. And if it wasn't fixed, you would not do any padding top, just because the nav bar and the hero section will go right above and right below each other. But since this is in a fixed position, you need padding top of 48. Because if you don't, and I remove this, let me refresh. Oh, you know why that's not working? Because let me Let me take them both out. There we go. So as you can see, if we don't have any padding at the top, the navigation bar is in fixed position and it has a higher Z index. So this is going to take precedence over this hero section. So let me just bring that back. And one other important thing before we get started with this Tailwind CSS code is that all the media queries are done within this file. And they already predetermined values, but you could also change them in the Tailwind config file. But the predetermined values are going to be small screens, medium screens, large, XL, and 2XL. And all you got to do is hover over them with the Tailwind CSS, the IntelliSense, and it tells you the minimum width each media query is. So it's very useful. And you should organize these better. And you should put all the media queries at the end of the class names. So the first thing we have is we have padding at the top of this whole section. And on small screens and up, we have padding at the top of 36. This padding top 48 means that Tailwind CSS also is a mobile first friendly CSS utility, meaning that all these classes are suited for mobile friendly devices. And then if you want anything up like this, so say small screens are a padding top of 36. So that means any screens that are minimum width of 640 pixels or more have a padding top of 36. Perfect. So then next we're going to have a width of full, which is going to take this full screen. The height is going to be 860 pixels. This is going to be in brackets. And the reason for that is if you do any custom values, they need to be bracketed. Next, we're going to have the display to be flex. We're going to have on mobile screens for it to be a flex column because we need the text at the top and the form at the bottom because the width isn't big enough on mobile screens. And then on small screens and up, we need a flex row, which is left and right like this as seen. Another thing we need is we need to justify evenly, which justifies the content evenly spaced between. And then the next thing we need is we need a background for the whole hero section. So if you want to do like a one-off value for the background, the way we do this is by typing in BG and then a dash. And then like I said, you're going to have brackets for any custom values. And then you have the URL. And then what I have in here is a pixels URL. So what that is there's a website called pixels.com. You might have heard of it. You might have not. It's free. You don't need to actually sign in. All you're going to just do is type in whatever you want. It gives you stock images that you could use for commercial use, and you could use it to actually sell stuff. So you're not going to get copyrighted. So say we click this camera right here. We do not have to download it. If you want to download it to your local computer, that's fine. But all we're going to do is press copy, right click it, copy image address. And I'm just going to paste it in this. And as you can see, this is the URL we need for that background in Tailwind CSS. And that's where I got this image from. And that's that image right there. There is no opacity on this image. That's just how the image is. It is black and white. And then when you first get that image on your screen, it's going to look something probably like this. Multiple images of the same image. And the reason why is because you have to put a property of cover. I mean, this is the same thing on CSS files. It's object cover. So it's object fit cover. And now that covers it and it becomes only one image and it takes up the whole screen and moves how it should with each device. Okay, so pretty much the basis outline of how this should look is you're going to have a section which is covering the whole hero. And then you're going to have one div, which is your main div for the left side. And then one div below that div, which is going to be your right side. So this div right here that's highlighted is your left side div, which is everything on the left side. And then on mobile devices, it's everything on the top. And then this div right here is going to be your right side. And that's going to be the form. And there's multiple ways how you can customize your hero section, but this is the one we're doing right now. So one of the properties that Tailwind CSS gives us is we can do a basis of 1/2. This means it has a flex basis of 50%. So it takes up 50% of the flex of the full width of the screen. You could do a basis of 1/3, 1/4, 2/3, 3/5. It could just be whatever you want in a fraction, and it gives you the percentage. So the left side is going to be 50%, and then the right side is going to be 50%. So these are the two main divs we need. This is pretty much how we're going to lay out the hero section. So on large screens, we are going to have padding left and right of 16, which is 64 pixels. And that is going to be on minimum widths of 1240. So I just want to show an example of how that looks. So we are going to be in responsive, and I said it was 1240 pixels. So here is the width pixels right here, and we're going to go to 1240. And as you can see right there on the media break, you could see the padding left and right becomes bigger. As you can see, it's closer to the left. It goes a little large. It goes more to the right. As I said, a lot of things when it comes to styling is you got to test and try different things. This hero section might not be perfect for you, but this is going to be the basis outline of one that you can make, and then you could customize it how you want. And then on this div as well, we have relative. You could put this here. We actually really don't need it. Let me just make sure we don't need it. Yeah, so we don't need the relative. Okay. So that div is taken care of. So we have the padding left and right and the basis. Inside of it, we're going to have an H1 and a P tag. In the H1, which is take your business to new levels, we're also going to have a break, which is going to break after the business, a break tag. And then we're also going to have a span tag, so we could have this cool gradient color for the two new levels. It just gives it that more aesthetic look. So for the text, we have a 6XL, which is a font size of 60 pixels or 3.75 rems. We have the text white, text left, padding left and right of 16 inside of here, padding top of 16, which is right here. This will be 16 padding. Padding bottom of 4, which gives us some padding right here below the paragraph and heading tag, and a font of bold. And I just want to show an example while I'm typing. So if you have the Tailwind IntelliSense installed onto your VS Code, you start typing and it's going to give auto recommendations. So as you can see, it says font bold, and then it makes the font bold. As you can see, it just gives you pretty much recommendations on how you could do. And if you don't think you're doing something right, like a common mistake is some people type in font white and it's actually text white. That's how you change the color of the text. So that's going to be the H1. And then to get a gradient look on text, you're going to have to use these classes. It's a little confusing, but it makes sense when you actually understand it. So we're going to have the text transparent, which means there's no background to the text. You also need a property of BG clip text, which pretty much the background that we're going to use for this specific code line is going to be the text. So whatever we put for the background, it's going to be for the text, and it's transparent already. And the background is going to be a gradient from bottom to right, and it's going to go from the color of this specific color to this color. And then right at the end, I just have a media query, which is small with the text of 7XL. Okay, and then we just have the P tag with the few styling, text white, text large, padding left, right, 16. So that takes care of the class right here and this div right here. So now we're going to work on the right side div, which is this form. And for the first thing, which we already done, we have a basis of 1/2, which is going to take up 50%. And then we have margin left and right of auto. So that means it's going to go center it from left and right and horizontally. Then inside of this div, we're going to have another div, which is going to wrap around everything else, as you can see here. And this div is going to be the actual, pretty much the border and the frame of the form, which we need a border. And then the border gray of 400 right here. We're going to have each rounded corner to rounded large. We want a shadow effect with the shadow of sync of 900. And this border is going to be a height of 480 pixels and a width of 280 pixels. That is going to be on mobile screens. That's the size. Then when we go up to small screens with the media query, which is 640 pixels and more, we have a height of 66% and a width of 60%. So this is just going to adjust pretty well when it changes screen sizes. And then on 2XL screens, we're going to have a width of 2/5. We're going to have everything centered. So we're going to justify center, text center, and item center. And that's going to get everything centered in here. And then we're going to have this background to be white. And the margin top from here to here, we're going to have as 12. And on small screens, it will be 0 because it is going to be in columns and not in rows. Okay, so we're going to work on this section right here, which is where we're going to look at right now. We're going to have an H2, which is going to say register now with some properties here. Underneath that, we have a P tag with properties that says take your life serious. And then we're going to have a div, which is going to pretty much cover this whole section right here. And then inside this div, we're going to have separate divs for this section, a div for this section, and then this button will be alone. So inside of this div, which will be our form and input, is we're going to have a form, and it's going to cover this input so we could actually make this a working form. So we're going to have the HTML element of form. It's going to have an on submit with the logic of handle submit as a function. We'll talk about that at the end. And then we're going to have the class name of flex and then flex column. Reason being is because we want all this to be in a column no matter the size of the screen. We're going to have our two inputs. We're going to have one with the type of text, placeholder name, one with email, and then placeholder email with some logic as well. And you do want to have these types here. The reason why is because if you type in an email that actually isn't an email, so say you forget the @ sign, and then we just put this here, it will give you an error saying please include an @ in the email address because it's missing an @. So you need a type of email because it is going to require an email to actually be in that input. So those are going to be the two inputs. And then below that, we want to create a separate div because this is going to be a flex row. When you start looking at pages, you got to determine what it's going to be beforehand and kind of just work based on what you think and just kind of mess with things as well. So in this div right here, we need a flex row. So we're going to have a flex and then flex row, a gap of 2 between here. And then we're going to have padding at the top of 4. The input's going to be a checkbox, as you can see. It's going to have some logic here with the on click that we'll talk about later. And then we'll have a P tag saying if you'd like to receive email marketing, obviously you click this checkbox. And then right below this div, we're going to have this button, which is going to be a type submit. And then we're going to have some class names for it. And one of the class names for Tailwind CSS is the hover pseudo class. I hope I'm saying that right. I hope I'm not butchering it. But the hover, pretty much, you type in hover with a semicolon, and then you start typing in potential properties that you want for that. So we're going to have the opacity of 0.4 with the ease in and out. So as you can see, every time we hover, it does that effect. Very simple, very easy to use Tailwind. Like very easy just to implement a very cool effect like that. After that, we're going to close the form. We're going to make sure all the divs are closed. And after you finish that, your hero section should look like this. Now, the next step we want to talk about is the actual logic. So we do want the form to kind of like semi work. We're not going to connect it to any backend, do none of that. This is just a hero section tutorial. So the things we're going to use is we're going to use the useState hook in React. The useState hook is very beginner friendly. It is one of the most important hooks in React, and it's probably going to be the first one you learn. So what the useState does is anytime a user is on a website or a page, if anything changes, that means the state is changing, the state of the page, the state of the application. So the way you change state in React is by using the useState hook. And to do this, you have to import useState at the top like this. And then this is the syntax right here. As you can see, I already have it written down for useState. And it's listed as const, and it has brackets with two variables, two pretty much parameters. And then it's going to equal the useState, and then this is the initial value in parentheses. So for example, we need somebody's name. When they type in their name, we want to get that state, and we want to be able to store it somewhere. And this could be on the back end, it could be in Firebase, it could be in MongoDB, like it could just be a bunch of different places. So many ways you could code out here. So if we look at the input tab, when somebody types, we need to write an onChange event listener. And we need an anonymous function inside of here, which is written like this. And this is the event. We need taking the event as a parameter. And then these two explained right here is the name is the variable, and the set name changes this variable. So whatever this set name, pretty much, I'm trying to explain it well. The set name actually changes the variable of the name. So we use any of these sets. That's kind of the way everybody writes it. So it's either whatever this const is, and then you just put set with a capital and then that const. So name would be set name, email would be set email. Then you could have like an age to set age, is checked to set is checked, and so on and so on. So right here on this onChange, we have an event as a parameter with an anonymous function, and the set name is going to take the parameter of the event.target.value. This means that anytime we type, this set name will change every time we type and update the name state. And then we could use this name state and display it in the UI, store it in a database, and so on. Same thing with this onChange. It takes an event, the set email will change based on the event.target.value, which is what we type, and this will give the value to the email. And then, like I said, these right here, these parentheses are going to be the initial values. So this initial value is an empty string, this one's an empty string, and this one's a Boolean that's set to false. And one way we could check this, I know this isn't about the hero section, but it helps with the state, is we will inspect our page. We will go to components right here. This is a dev tool that you could download. And we are going to go to, am I in the right spot? Let's see. We have navbar, head, link. Oops. Here we go, hero section. There it is. It's like me a little bit to find it. So there's the hero section component. And on this right side, we see the hooks. That's our useState hooks. And you see the first state, second state, third state. And each one shows the initial value. And it will change as I type, since we have an onChange event listener on it. So if I type in my name, Brett, you can see that changed. If you start typing in anything here, this changed. The state changed as well. So that will be the new value of that state. And then also the Boolean, if I click it, it'll turn to true. Unclick it, it's going to turn to false. And then one last thing we could do for logic for this form is, this is a very simple way of doing it. There's a lot of ways to do this. I wouldn't recommend doing this if this is like a full-blown app or actual, application that a lot of people are going to use. Is when you click the form and you click this submit button, we're going to have an on submit, and we are going to call the function and invoke the handle submit. We haven't made the handle submit, so you're going to have to make the handle submit function up here. Now I made it as an arrow function, taking in the event listener as a parameter. And then inside of this, we have a ternary operator with the if statement. So if the email dot length, or this is the or sign, name dot length is less than 1, then we're going to alert on the page, please provide information needed. This handle submit function is only going to actually do its thing when we actually click the submit button, because that's where we have it right here. So let's say we have Brett@gmail.com. Let's say we have no name. The person forgot to put a name in. We click submit. We get the alert box. Please provide information needed, as it says here. So that is all the logic that will get you going for this hero section. I hope this video has definitely helped you create a hero section and opened your eyes up to the power of Tailwind and how you could use it and utilize it on your next project. If you like this video, hit the like button. If you want to as well, subscribe. I'm going to be coming out with a lot of content here soon, and I'm going to be trying to shoot for 2 to 3 times a week with new videos. And thank you for taking the time to watch, and have a good day.